I can't take it anymore. I've reached my limit. What's wrong, Mom? Did something happen with Brandon? My mother, who was supposed to be living with my brother and his wife, came to my house looking battered and worn out. It seems that my mother has been enduring terrible treatment from them, and they drove her out of the house in the end. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to go back, my mother said while crouching down, and she looked like she had had enough. As I was raging, I headed to my brother's place. Our father has already passed away, and my brother and I are the only family my mother has left. I cannot forgive my brother and his wife for cornering my mother like this. I will protect my mother from these despicable people. I decided to do that, but the situation that awaited me was even worse than I had imagined. Don't worry, Mom, I'm here with you, I said to her when I saw her tense expression. She nodded slowly and placed her hand on her chest, as if trying to calm her heartbeat. As I rang the doorbell, I heard someone say, "Coming," in a high-pitched voice. It was my sister-in-law. Oh, what's going on? Beth, where have you been? We've been worried about you. You don't know anything, do you? Anyway, let us in. Well, all right, but please don't stay for too long. My sister-in-law displayed a clear expression of displeasure without hiding it. She acted as if she were the true owner of the house, treating us as if we were guests, no, more like strangers. Huh? What's up? Both of you are here? My brother was sprawling on a large sofa, watching TV leisurely. He didn't even bother getting up, just remained there and talked to us. From his arrogant demeanor and the way he spoke, I knew that what my mother had told me was undoubtedly true. So, you drove Mom out? What on earth did you do to her? What? Drove her out? No, no. When I said that a useless person who can't even do housework is an unfit mother, she left on her own accord. I couldn't believe my brother's words. How could he talk about his own mother like that? It seems that my brother had been pressuring our mother to do household chores even when she was running a fever and couldn't move. Of course, my sister-in-law didn't lift a finger to help, and pushed all the responsibilities onto our mother instead, treating her like a maid. We want to take care of her, that's what my brother and his wife said when they suggested they move in with my mother. My mother turned 60 years old this year, and she feels unwell more frequently. As my brother mentioned, there have been numerous occasions when she ran a fever. So, I had thought that my brother and his wife were genuinely concerned about our mother and offered to live with her to help her. However, it seems I had completely misunderstood. Instead of taking care of her, my brother and his wife seemed to believe it was natural for parents to take care of their children, at least, that's how it appeared. If not, there is no way to explain their attitudes. My anger had begun to surge like a collapsed dam. My mother was trembling while crouching down behind me. What my brother had told me might have been just a small part of the story, and the reality might have been even more brutal. What do you think a mother is, Brandon? You were the one who suggested you live with her, weren't you? I shouted at my brother in a fury. In response, my brother laughed out loud. The entertainment show on the TV he was watching had the same kind of laughter he was displaying. He didn't show a hint of remorse. I was shaking with anger, and my brother spat at me without changing his expression at all. His attitude was as nonchalant as if he were simply breathing. Well, obviously, I said that because I wanted to live in this house. It's not like I'm doing charity work, you know? I just wanted to claim this mansion that dear old Dad left behind as my own. Isn't that pretty obvious? As my brother stated, the house in which my brother, his wife, and our mother live is a property that our deceased father had left us. In other words, my brother had suggested they live with my mother with the intention of getting his hands on our father's inheritance and using my mother as a maid from the beginning. I could no longer forgive my brother for that. To think he was living with my mother only for his own desires. I will never forgive my brother, who shows no trace of love or care. I won't let you have this house, Brandon. I have the right, too. I will never let you, who treats our mother that way, have it. I'll cut ties with you.
Hey, hold on a second. My brother finally rose from the sofa.
This house belongs to me since I'm the eldest son. If you're going to blabber, then you take care of Mom.
We engaged in a heated argument. I had never been so furious in my life, and my mind was blank. But if I backed down now, my brother and his wife would get their way. With large beads of sweat forming on my forehead, I desperately continued to voice my thoughts, determined not to give in. What stopped us was our mother, who had been crouching down looking so small.
Enough, stop it now. I'll give you the house.
With that, my brother and his wife stopped dead in their tracks.
That's the way it should be,
my brother said, sprawling back onto the sofa. My sister-in-law's lips curled into a smirk, and she had a nasty grin on her face. I looked at my mother and asked, Mom, why? After enduring such harsh treatment, why would she give in and hand over the house? Wasn't that exactly what my brother wanted?
It's fine. I don't want to see my family fighting.
Besides, your father wouldn't want that either, my mother said. Hearing my mother's words, I started to think that she might be right. Our late father was someone who valued family. He would be sad if he saw us having an ugly argument. On the other hand, my brother and his wife seemed to feel nothing. While they raised their hands in victory and happiness, I was left with a frustrating sense of defeat.
But please, just one thing.
I want you to sign here, my mother said, taking out a piece of paper. It was a written agreement declaring that he will not give or receive anything after he receives the mansion. My brother and his wife, who were so excited, didn't seem to care about anything else as long as they get the mansion. He said, sure, and then signed so easily as if scribbling. My mother took my hand while holding the paper and said,
let's go home.
I left the house as if dragged by my mother and returned home with regret. At home, my husband was waiting. I told my husband everything that happened today. As I explained the situation, my husband's expression quickly stiffened and transformed into anger. After hearing my story, he furrowed his brow in genuine contempt towards my brother and his wife. And then, he suggested that my mother should live with us right after that. It only took him a second to say that, so perhaps my husband had already been considering that. My husband adored my mother, like his own, even before we got married. He values my family more than my biological brother does. From my husband's perspective, the actions of my brother and his wife were unimaginable and something he could never forgive.
I'll do whatever I can to help,
my husband said, and his expression conveyed it all. I felt truly grateful to my husband. Some days later, my mother and I visited my brother's house with the documents that would allow my mother to give the mansion to my brother. My brother was absolutely ecstatic. His wife too. They were humming as they listened to us. My brother said,
I just have to sign here, right?
He signed them, without even looking through the documents properly.
You're a fool. I can't believe that you're giving up your rights to this house for taking the side of this yobbish old lady. We'll live here in comfort, and I'm lucky to have a stupid sister like you,
he said and laughed again, haha. I felt my anger boiling up once more, and I thought of saying something, but my mother pulled me back and told me not to. So, I held back, just told him not to contact us ever again, and left the house. A few weeks later, I received numerous calls from my brother. My brother and his wife got the house and cut ties with us. Yet, what else do they want to talk about? I have been ignoring them, but the calls kept coming in like a storm. I sighed deeply as I looked at the extensive call log and then reluctantly answered the phone.
Yes, what is it? Hey, do you know about property tax?
I couldn't catch up with my brother, who suddenly started talking. When he says property tax, he means that property tax, right? I'm not sure what he's talking about now, but I'll listen to him anyway.
Why didn't you say anything? Apparently, it costs around $50,000 per year. I didn't know about this. So, I ignored it. Then I started receiving notices which says that I have to pay property tax several times. Well, of course. If you own a property, paying property tax is a given. But I'm pretty sure I haven't paid anything like that before. My brother is so clueless. I told him in my head, go look up property taxes online or whatever first before calling me.
Property owners pay taxes based on the value of their land and buildings. It's common sense. Certainly, the location of that mansion is good and the value of the building itself has not decreased. So, it's only natural that they're being charged that much.
Hey? Is Mom there? What? I'm not connecting you to Mom. I'm sure she had secretly paid it with Dad's inheritance. Hey, give Mom back. I'll make her pay that property tax.
What? What on earth is he talking about? His reasoning is just so self-serving. I'm beyond angry.
Mom isn't a tool, you know. What are you thinking? This happened because you wanted that mansion, right? I told you not to contact us ever again, didn't I? Don't call me anymore.
After saying that, I hung up the phone and immediately blocked his calls. This should ensure that I never have to meet my brother and his wife again. I didn't have to deal with the large number of calls from my brother, and my husband, mother, and I were living peacefully together. Especially my mother's health improved rapidly. She no longer had any health issues, and she started smiling more and more, day by day. I realized that her previous health problems were caused by my brother and his wife, and I was filled with guilt towards my mother. I wish I had realized my brother's and his wife's true nature sooner, then my mother wouldn't have had to go through such hardship. My heart sank heavily, but it was my husband who was kind to me at that time. My husband took the initiative in doing household chores and became even more dedicated to his work at the same time. His desire to support both me and my mother was evident even without words. I wanted to support my husband and mother as well, and that motivated me to look forward and keep moving. My mother also appeared deeply grateful to my husband.
I want to do something in return.
She has been saying this all the time lately. Then one day, a dark cloud loomed over our life. The cause? Well, it was none other than my brother and his wife. My husband and I encountered them in front of a condo.
Hey! What are you doing in a place like this?
It seemed that my brother had gone to great lengths to track us down and had finally found us here. My husband and I were astonished by my brother's bizarre behavior while we were standing in front of the condo, ignoring us who were speechless. My brother looked up at the condo and said,
"Why the hell are you living in a place like this?"
"There's no way that you can afford it. Because I took the mansion, you were so frustrated that you forced yourself to rent it and thought you'd get back at me? Is that it?" My brother laughed again. I really hated the way he was laughing. Actually, the condo that we were standing in front of was a high-end condominium. That's right. My husband and I had moved here with my mother. I calmly told him, "I'll tell you why we live here."
We had a grandfather, right? Mom's dad. Ah, that old man. He used to look down on me, and I've disliked him since forever. Grandpa was a wealthy landowner and owned apartment buildings.
My brother's movements came to an abrupt halt and his face contorted.
What? I've never heard that story before. Stop making things up. It's not a lie, it's a true story. You and your wife were the only ones who didn't know.
My brother's face gradually became flushed. His previously composed demeanor disappeared entirely, and he trembled with anger. Actually, our mother had also been entrusted with the management of the apartment buildings by our grandfather, and she had suggested that we move here with her. It all began when my mother started saying to my husband I want to do something in return, like a mantra. Originally, she was planning to let my brother and his wife move to this condo. My mother was thinking to tell them about the condo when my brother and his wife, who said that they wanted to move in with her so they can take care of her, have their children someday. However, my brother and his wife treated my mother like a housekeeper and tried to use her solely for their own desires. I believe she kept silent about the apartment management as well because she suspected that my brother and his wife would use it for their own benefit. It's obvious when you look at my brother and his wife, who are now raging.
Hey, we don't need Mom anymore, so hand over the money from managing the apartments instead. You deceived us, didn't you? We're not leaving that house. Your mother should pay the property tax.
They are selfish to the core. I wanted to laugh at them, thinking they were truly pathetic, but my body was tense despite the thoughts. I was honestly scared of my brother and his wife, who had identified where we lived and showed up suddenly. It became clear once again that they were willing to do anything for their own desires, and I know it sounds pathetic, but I became too scared to say anything. Once again, it was my husband who came to my rescue. My husband, who had been listening beside me, had a scarier expression on his face than my brother and his wife. He had an almost demonic expression.
You guys. Enough is enough. What do you think you are, doing to your own mother? I don't need you to tell me what to do, so shut up. I can't stay silent.
With determination, my husband began speaking, uttering words one by one. My husband grew up in a single-parent household. He lost his mother when he was young. His father tried his best to prevent my husband from feeling lonely by showering him with affection every day. Yet, my husband couldn't help but long for his mother countless times. With that background, my husband had always treated my mother as if she were his own and cherished her. However, even such words from my husband didn't get through to my brother's heart. He's not a human anymore. He's just a money grubber. However, my husband also seemed to have felt that it was useless to say anything to my brother and his wife, so he said a few words that he must have prepared for just in case.
I'm considering taking legal action against you.
Perhaps my brother thought that my husband was joking. While he looked down on my husband and shrugged shoulders as if to say, "Do it if you can," he looked at his wife. However, my sister-in-law desperately tried to stop him. Whether it was because she kind of grasped the seriousness of my husband's intentions or she never expected that my husband would say that he would take legal actions, my sister-in-law displayed an expression of panic that she had never shown before.
Hey, come on, just stop, it'll get messy if it turns into a lawsuit.
My sister-in-law said to my brother. Upon hearing this, my brother lowered the raised fist. While my brother may not have understood the seriousness of my husband's intentions, it seemed that my sister-in-law's seriousness had gotten through to him.
Are you really going to take this to court? Did I do something that bad?
It's really too late now, but my brother seemed to be thinking back on his actions and completely stopped moving.
You don't need to sue them.
Immediately after, I heard my mother's voice from behind me. It seems that she heard my brother and his wife yelling and rushed over.
I heard everything. Thank you so much for going as far as considering taking legal action for my sake.
She gently held my husband's hands with both of hers and thanked him.
You're such a fool, you know? In the end, she chose me who is blood related. Mom is on my side. I was a little scared, to be honest. But I'm glad. With this, our comfortable life will be guaranteed.
My brother and his wife believe that our mother is on their side completely. However, our mother said something unexpected.
I'll sue them.
My brother and his wife's eyes widened. Then, our mother showed them a piece of paper, a written agreement.
Do you remember this? Your signature is right here. What did it say? After receiving the mansion, I won't give or receive anything. I had this written up with a lawyer, so it's legally binding. I can give you money, but think about it with that in mind. Mom, please wait. I apologize for everything so far. Please forgive me, please. I'll do anything and everything.
He must be saying this because he is just worried about money. Without receiving money, he won't be able to pay property taxes. However, he has signed the agreement which stated that he will not receive anything else after he receives the mansion. He was told that if he tried to get money, he would have to go to court, and finally my brother must have understood that he was in a bad position. My husband, mother, and I can see through my brother's true intentions, and his wife's as well. Therefore, we will never forgive our brother and his wife for the rest of our lives.
If we see you wandering around here, we'll report you to the police immediately. This time, please make sure to stay out of our lives.
We left the scene, leaving those words and my brother and his wife behind. My mother then proceeded to sue them with the help of a lawyer, and demanded alimony. The complaint was about how they had treated my mother. While she was sad, it seems that she kept audio recordings and text exchanges as evidence. There is no way that my brother and his wife, who can't even pay their property taxes, can pay alimony. As a result, they were forced out of that mansion.
Thank you so much.
It was my husband for whom my mother expressed her gratitude.
Because you've been here for us, both my daughter and I have come this far. It's all thanks to you. It's only natural for me to support my family.
My husband said and smiled. People like my brother, who treat people like tools, make fun of them, and are not even grateful for the way they were raised, will go to hell. It's a consequence of their own actions. It would be nice if my brother could reflect a bit, but... However, it doesn't matter to us anymore. The three of us are a real family. We get along well, and we are enjoying a happy life filled with laughter.